Well, welcome everybody. My name is Guy. I'm the director of Co-Liv. It's a big pleasure to have you all here. I'm usually not that red. I don't know why my light turns out like this, but trust me, I'm usually not the tomato type of guy. So, big pleasure to meet you. Today is a really, really super cool event because it's Co-Liv community is one of the core themes of co-living and also of Co-Liv. You know, I'm seeing that a lot of you are very familiar with Co-Liv already. So instead of talking about Co-Liv as an association for co-living professionals and our goals really to promote co-living, I'd love to share with you an update. And that update is around the upcoming Co-Liv Summit. I'm curious here, who from this group has already heard that the Co-Liv Summit is happening? Can you just raise your hand real quick? Okay, who already got the tickets? Ah, great, a few, but not enough. Let me share something with you. I'll tell you why you should get them. So you all might know, this is my WhatsApp, apologies for that. You all might know that Co-Liv has been hosting a lot of events. We've hosted 100 events last year. More than 3,000 people came, and we decided that it is time to bring the entire industry together. Very simply, we are calling this the Co-Liv Summit. It's the third edition of it. This time, unfortunately, it can't be physical, it has to be digital, but we committed to making this the best experience you will ever have. Why? Three or four main reasons. First, we're gonna make this the biggest event. We're gonna bring in probably more than 500 co-living actors. We're aiming at 500. Right now, it seems like we're gonna go to 600 or 700. We're having all of our ambassadors from like 30 different countries promoting this. So it's going to be an international event. It's going to be 2 full days. And we're also going to have the Co-Living Awards ceremony. I know that a lot of you here have applied to the Co-Living Awards, and the Co-Living Awards are going to be happening at the Co-Liv Summit, which we're really excited about. Now, around the event itself, we decided to have a lot of content. So we have 70 different speakers. Here's just like a few of them. You can see, of course, Kelsea is going to be here. We're going to have people such as, for example, Susan from Cushman & Wakefield, who are more from the institutional side or from JLL, but we're also going to have a lot of actors who are
principles, because it's very all based. And we have one more now that is consent, because consent is very, very important. And we try to limit access to what we call plug and play. There is no people coming to Burning Man as you come to a resort in the Bahamas or whatever, and they think it's holidays. So some people buy very expensive RVs and they gather in co-living that are commercial or commodified, as we say, and they make you pay a lot of money, like, I don't know, 6,000, 10,000, and you have your RV, you even have your costumes, you have your food, everything is ready, and it's holiday. That's really not the way we see it. And those people can destroy the spirit of Burning Man if there are too many. It's difficult to limit the access to those people for a lot of reasons, but we're trying, and sometimes we play cat and mouse with them, but usually they're the mouse and we are the cat. So we can manage that, but it's something that is, it's countering our culture, if you want, the plug and play. And I strongly advise you not to come to a plug and play camp, because you lose 2/3 of the fun of Burning Man, which is the duocracy. And how do our community resist the risk waiting on them? We have identified those risks, and we know the risk for us. We know that environment is a big risk and also a challenge, because we want to respect the environment. We want to be sustainable, and it's hard to be sustainable when you bring 80,000 people in the desert. So we have thought about that, and we have built this sustainability roadmap, which, I mean, you have to read it on the internet because it's 30 pages long, but to understand how we're going to bring energy, renewable energy more, use more renewable energy, and be more respectful of the land, even though we're very respectful already, but we want to be more. We have political issue with the Bureau of Land Management, which try to limit the event's possibilities, but it's a bit hard to explain. And we want to as well preserve our culture, the 10 principles, but we want to enhance part of it. For example, in the inclusivity, we found out, some people found out that we don't see and have enough BIPOC people, people of color. There is some, but there is a group of BIPOC burners called Black Burners Project that is trying to enhance the presence and the visibility and the inclusion of BIPOC people. Because historically there were less BIPOC people in Burning Man, and we want that to change. Then also there is this work on consent, where Burning Man being a very free culture on exchange, on relationship, on sex, etc., we have had some issue with consent, and this is very important for us to address that. So this is things we work on because the community bring it, and the community told us we want to see that changing while preserving the principles. And then we have a land issue that we might not always be able to use this land that we use. So Burning Man bought a ranch, a big ranch. It won't be big enough to organize Burning Man if we need it, but it's a place where we can have alternative projects all year long, presenting art, maybe doing a co-living. So it's a very important project. Sorry, it was a bit fast and intense. I hope you get the ideas I try to pass, and do not hesitate with your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Isabelle.
Thank you, Isabelle. Wow, what a great presentation. And I see a lot of parallels in co-living communities. So it's super interesting to hear your perspectives and be able to make the connections. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And next up we have Guy. Then we have Richardo and Sam. So we're running a bit late, everybody. We've got such amazing content that the meetup is swelling a little bit longer than we expected. So thanks for hanging around a little bit later. And of course, if you have to dip out at the end, no worries, but want to keep it as interesting as possible. So next panelists, do your thing. Really happy to have all of your great content, and let's try to keep it concise and move on to our Q&A at the end. So thank you,
Awesome.
Guy. You want to take it away?
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, I'll make it a bit shorter, just so that I really want to give also space for Richardo and Sam to showcase. Isabelle, that was super interesting. There's so many parallels right now that I'd love to pick up during my own presentation. And so real quick, right now, I'm not going to talk to you as Guy from Co-Liv, but more as Guy from Art of Co. My passion is to build community. I've been building communities and co-living spaces myself, and I've been asking myself how to build community. So real quick, what is community? I just want to make a big difference here between two things. So I kind of did this little drawing. Please excuse my drawing skills. On one side, it's like a lot of people tell me, hey, we have this big community. There are like 50 people living in this building, but frankly, there's no emotional connection. And that's what we're looking for in communities, right? It's people who identify themselves with each other and who actually think about each other, right? And who care about each other. And community shows up in the way that people commit and engage towards each other. So I'll share with you 3 main concepts. And just before that, here's my magic formula. So for me, the way I think about community, meaning about this feeling of community, is alignment minus difference. So the job of a community builder is to create alignment between people, and it's to reduce friction. It's to overcome these differences. And there's tools to overcome these differences so that people can focus on their commonalities, their shared vision, and their common projects. So 3 core concepts that I want to share with you today. The first one is, it's really important to understand what I call the user community experience stages. And here I'm talking from a co-living perspective, but a lot of people focus only on, let's say, on the curation process, or maybe on a few events that are happening within the co-living space. But there's so many different stages that are equally as important from discovery. That means like, how do you present your brand? Are you attracting the right people? Do you communicate on your values? To the curation, do you have the right process? Do you have a vetting process in place? Do you actually talk to the people beforehand? You know, Isabelle talked about how it's important to keep out, how did you call them? You said playing cat, mouse and
cat and mouse.
Yes,
With
yes.
the plug and play camp. Yeah.
The plug and play, right? You don't want people who just come in because it looks cool. You want people who come in because they want to come in, not because it's convenient, but because they have a desire, right? And then important onboarding. A lot of co-living operators miss out this step. It's really important to onboard your new members into your community, make them aware of your values, introduce them to the new members, explain them the rituals that you have in your space. And then you have the adaptation phase. This is the phase that's very important around adapting a new member to your rituals, including them. Here you can do, for example, mentorships between old members and new members, right? And then there's the communal life. That is the stage where most people are during the co-living. And offboarding and afterlife includes when the person goes away. We're going to talk about this in the panel. So that's the first thing. The second thing I want to share with you is the difference between top down and bottom up. And I'm really glad that these terminologies have been now picked up in the co-living scene. Since I wrote about them like around 2 years ago. The main difference here, and that is around involve your residents, involve your community members, right? There's 3 ways really that co-living right now operates. On one side is a do-it-yourself approach where people just come in, the operator gives the keys, and it's like, okay, see you. There's no interaction between them. The second one, which is right now the predominant one, is the top-down approach. It's a management approach. Here it's the operator that decides what's happening to the residents. For example, they will decide that on Tuesday, we're going to do a margarita cocktail night and on Thursday, a salsa night. That is fine, but that doesn't give people ownership. Remember, Isabelle mentioned one of the key ways to involve your residents or to give this feeling of community is ownership. If people don't have ownership, they're not going to identify themselves with the community and what's happening. And that's why I really encourage everyone to move to the third part, and that is being a facilitator. Listen to your residents, ask them what they want, and enable them to create that within your community, within your experience. And for that, I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot. There's so much I want to share with you today. And for that, there's a few best practices that I'm gonna just share real quick here with you, and it's gonna be more detailed later on in the book, but we'll talk about it, and I want to listen to the other speakers. But mainly, there are 4 main things that I recommend to do to overcome differences. One is like, 1, avoid the tragedy of the commons. Tragedy of the commons in co-living spaces is the dishes are dirty. It is people leaving their things around and getting stressed. It is the fridge is getting a mess. There are strategies to overcome that. Think about that. The same thing, it's important that everybody knows the rules. Not only the rules in terms of sleeping hours, how many people can come in, but also soft rules in terms of how do we communicate to each other? How do we deal with conflict, right? Third, it's important to have rituals where people can express their fears. Kelsea mentioned how we at Experience House, we had the system where we met once a week and we could express how we felt and the things that went wrong. If there's a space for residents to express that, then you're able to overcome these problems. And lastly, it's also very important to prepare for the worst. Co-living is a representation of society, and in society, we do have a 1% or 0.1% of issues, such as heavy drug abuse, sexual assault, suicide. These things happen in co-living as well, and it's important to know how to handle them. Right? And lastly, once you've fixed this, right, once you are able to overcome these tension points, now you can focus on how do I build alignment between people. And here, a few principles is speed up the integration process, onboard your residents, have a process for onboarding, for having them meet your values, your residents, their community members, and also for involving them into the experience. Second, have them invest into a common cause. It's important that your residents also contribute to the space and have ownership. And that joins the involvement part. And the last part is it's important for everyone to co-create this vision. So have them express how they see the community and how they want to get involved. I'm going to stop here. It's time to create real communities. Thank you. And now I'd love to listen to the other speakers. And if you want to chat, let's communicate in this main chat here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Guy. Look, really excited about your book. Can you drop a link in the chat where people can find more information about this?
Definitely. Thank you.
I have a quick question.
Excellent. All right. Yeah.
What's the business model? How does this company make money?
Which company?
The burning idea. Like when you get the community together, do they have to pay like a membership of any kind? Who's handling the operational side? Like you guys have to secure a location, so you must have money.
Burning Man, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, the business model is easy. There is a ticket for sale around $400 for the week. And for that, you have the access to the space, the porta potties, and the security, basic security. And that's it. The rest you have to bring yourself and with your co-living partners. They're called theme camps.
Is the land lease or owned?
Yeah. The land is leased with this money. Sorry, the money is for the land mostly.
If someone has land, can we use their land for this operation? And is there permitting required? Because it sounds like you guys are going around permitting.
Yeah. No, it's not permanent. It's temporary. It's only two. I mean, the land is rented for 2 months or 3 months.
No, I mean like permitted through the government, permanent through the state government.
It is permitted by the government because it's on the Bureau of Land Management field. I mean, land.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, thanks. Richardo, I'd love to hear you take it away.
Hey. Hello, everyone. Let me share my screen here. I'm gonna try to do as fast as I can also to have some space for the next speaker. And I'm gonna have to say, Guy just facilitated a lot for me because he gave all the theoretical, the structure of my talk here for you guys. Everyone see my presentation?
Yep, you're great.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to talk about just one point of the topic today is about cultivating authentic communities and awesome communities, actually. We have been working with Co-Living for the last 4 years. And I have to say, it's easy when you have such an amazing tribe and people all ready to engage in activities and housing experience as we have our members. So we do the co-living in a more intense way. We have big shared apartments, which is these ones. We have a penthouse of 13 rooms, another house of 11 rooms, and a building of 21 rooms. So it's every member has its own room. Every member has to share kitchens, has to share the living room. And we usually have 99% of our members, they are local, they are from Brazil, they're not foreigners, and they usually live for at least 6 months with us. So we don't have those short-term experiences from other co-living companies. And that gives a lot of more intense experience of sharing a house with a group of people you didn't know before. So our learnings in these 4 years of co-living is that each house has their own personality. Is almost like a Netflix series. It has their own season, and as members get in and members get out, it changes the energy of the house, and your community manager and the brand has to know how to deal with the moment of each house of the co-living each has. The sense of belonging, we usually see that depends more on intangible aspects, but also the tangible aspects are still important. Like we usually see that members that can furniture the room, can paint the room, they feel a lot more, the sense of ownership of the experience becomes better. but usually the intangible aspects are more profound for them to feel belonging to that community. We have seen that having a house leader as a guide resident is a great way to build, exchange, create a lot of projects with them, as Guy just told about in his presentation. So we usually talk with him or her first to negotiate, create, and do surprises for our members, and even create projects for ourselves for the co-living company. We have seen that also the fourth point: the smaller the co-living gets, the quieter it gets. As the opposite is also true. We have co-livings of 5 units, 5 rooms, and we have also co-livings of 21 rooms. And we have seen that people usually coming to live in the bigger co-livings as the time pass go by. They want to change to a quiet experience because they already had some intense experience in the bigger ones. So they have the option to change and get a little more intimate and private in the smaller co-livings. As Guy also told in his presentation, you have to be the fifth point. You have to be ready to talk about really personal and serious topics. We have seen cases of depression, anxiety attacks going around, especially in the pandemic. So our community managers has to intervene and has to talk with the psychiatrist, has to talk with the family to know how to deal with that situation and build the right approach. The 6th point: free food and free drinks never fail. Don't ever underestimate the power of bringing people together with food. We do monthly meetings of each house with pizza nights. So that's the moment that the members we can talk about the experience and use like non-violent communication techniques to tell how the experience is going. But also with the food, you always get more attention and more than drinks. And 7, the last point: give back to the local community. We can say that that's really a secret sauce from Oka. We usually do a lot of projects with our members. So we do our best to engage our residents to do projects outside and inside the co-living bubble to exchange with the society. And this is a few of the projects we did internally. So we talk about toxic masculinity. We did an impact report. We did some challenges, some bathroom and music video challenges between our co-living units. And all of these, and we have a mini reality show coming up in the next months. All of these projects, they came from our community, and they're being executed with the help of them, and that gives us an advantage and a lot of help to finish them in a more authentic way. But I have to say that something that we are really passionate about is also giving back to the local community. So we do that in 2 ways. Our residents cook weekly meals for the homeless population, and we as Oka, the company, we supply the food and we do the delivery weekly. And our residents and also our team of office volunteer on activities for children in vulnerable ways. You can see here my community manager dressed as a Minion cartoon, and my commercial manager dressed as a fluffy yellow orange tiger. And we do that like in a monthly, weekly basis. So that's how we think that we can make our community more useful and more self-aware of the social impact of them in the world. That's my presentation for you guys. I'm happy to give more time and help with the answers after.
Thank you, Ricardo. Really great project, great work. Really cool to see in action the work that you're doing. Thank you. Okay, so now we have up Mr. Birthday Man, Sam Kern, to tell us about Experience House. Sam, you ready to join us?
Happy birthday!
Great. All right, let me unpin Ricardo. Bryce, can you unpin Ricardo and pin Sam, please?
Yeah.
Nobody is pinned right now.
Sam. You're still muted, Sam.
Okay.
Just FYI.
Okay, cool. Sorry, can you guys see these slides?
Yes, now it works.
Cool. You can see me on a makeshift stage with an Experience House banner.
Yes.
And yes, and your spotlight.
Cool, awesome. Great. All right, I'll be quick. So Guy and I first connected around co-living because I think for me and for him, co-living is a pretty unique opportunity to not only just have a shared living environment and to build a sense of community tribe, but to actually have a group of people come together and have this sort of sense of collective acceleration, of a life acceleration, of acceleration in your career. I believe really strongly that you're the average of the people that you spend time with. And so Experience House and this whole concept is based around that idea. So that on top of the sort of remote work revolution means that for the first time in history, you can basically gather any group of people in the world, any select group of people in the world together for an extended period of time. And so that's super powerful just in itself. So I believe very strongly that the future of co-living is niche. And I'm going to show you sort of what we did here with Experience House and kind of the formula that I think made it work. So cool. So the first thing was, as Kelsey shared, the people being really everything. We had about 65 people apply. We ended up, the final amount, including organizers, was 23 people. So we spent an enormous amount of time and energy interviewing people, really trying to figure out what are people's unique gifts and talents, what can they bring to the table, what is their industry, how is that going to pair with other people, and like what is the energy that they bring to the mix. So we just took a lot of time to try to really get that right, and I think it's something that we nailed. People. The other thing is an environment that's optimized for collective thriving. We had some issues because we were in the jungle of Guatemala with Wi-Fi, but in general, the idea is that like the foundation of like food is covered, chef prepared meals, fast Wi-Fi, a productive co-working space. In our case, we were super spoiled and we had, a Temescal sauna. So that's, part of the idea is like a space that sort of invites and encourages human thriving. And we do that in part through the actual space and in part through like the programming and the way that we structured the month. The other big thing is an aligned intention. So the theme of Experience House was bringing together experiential designers, event producers, and community builders, coming together to co-create and to reimagine how we gather and connect in a post-COVID world. So everyone who opted into this experience like understood the reason that we were all gathering. And I think that was like super important. With the aligned intention, it's sort of like, what is the mission of why we're all gathering? But then with that, these sort of cultural principles of co-creation, of ask offer, where it's like really everyone who was there was just so generous in the way that they contributed their skills and their talents. People booked time with one another to do one-on-ones. We hosted mastermind events. The left here is, we did basically all the programming was co-created. So we basically said like, here's the spaces, here's the calendar, fill it with whatever you'd like. And so, we did talks and experience design. This is Max teaching a workshop, Johnny teaching a queen bee game, which is sort of like an ask offer mastermind session. So what's really amazing about this format is like, if we as organizers had tried to program all of this stuff, like first of all, the ideas that we come up with just wouldn't be as interesting or amazing. And the amount of energy and work that went into all of the events is something that we wouldn't have been able to have the bandwidth for. And the other big thing is time spent together. So, you know, unlike a conference or even a retreat where you just have maybe, you know, 2 to 5 days with each other, you know, conferences also often feel very rushed and hurried, and it's often very transactional and quick. And with this, you have an entire month, or ideally, I actually think a longer period is best. You have longer periods of time, you have all these moments in between to really build quality relationships. And so that, I think, really leads to a sense of tribe and community. But it also, even like from a professional standpoint, I mean, we have people who are part of the house who are now collaborating on big business projects. And in part, I think that's because there's a sense of trust that is created, right? Everyone has like enough overlapping industries that it's like, you've just spent a month with someone, you've gone through crazy stuff together, you've climbed a volcano together. There's a sense of just of tribe and connection and family. And I think that leads to, yeah, just like really positive collaborations and things that come from that. So here, you know, we created like this love on wall where people were writing, you know, things that they love about each other in a public way. Just a lot of like care and love was created over the course of a month. So for me, that's kind of like the basic formula. And so people, an optimal environment, an aligned intention, and then just a long period of time spent with one another, I think leads to magic. So yeah, that's kind of, this was our first kind of rollout of Experience House, and we're looking at doing future iterations of this. So happy to answer any questions, but that's the gist.
Nice. Thank you, Sam. And then I'd like to, can you hear me now? Thank you, Sam. That was amazing. I can attest all of those things are true. I just lived in it. Really great to see you put it all together. Matt, just really quickly, do you have anything that you wanted to add? I'd love to allow you a second to say hello. Matt is the founder of Nomadic 6, who is the operator for Experience House, co-founder with Sam. Matt, let's see where you're at here.
I think, can you hear me? Am I on?
Yes.
Cool. Hey, Sam, great job. Wonderful. Sam summed it up. That was like 100% what Experience House was. I think the big thing that I, take away from it and definitely enjoyed about it, even just as somebody participating in it myself, it was the freedom to play. The freedom to, much like in the Burning Man theology of it's a free space to experiment and explore, but also just to kind of relax and deconnect. I think the biggest part about it was it was the first time a lot of us have been in a group setting since before COVID. So having a spoken word poetry performance was the first performance any of us have been to in a year. Having dinner parties was the first time we've had a dinner party in a year. So kind of setting that intention to create a COVID safe space, but also be with other people was so healthy, I think, for even as us as organizers. I think we benefited from it as well. So that's kind of the beauty of what co-living is. And like Sam said, surrounded by, you are whoever you're surrounded by. And I very much loved everyone that was there. So it was fantastic.
Very nice. Thank you both.
Matt.
Thank you both. And I'm really, yeah, thank you. Let me unpin. Great. So I'm really conscious about time. I know we're running over. Maybe does anybody have any questions in the audience that they would like to ask to our panelists? I know I had some pre-prepared questions, but the presentations have really answered many of the questions that I had. So I'd love to just take 1 minute to open up the space to any questions that maybe some of you have that you'd like to ask the panelists.
Yes, I have a question.
Or Fabrice, yeah. Okay, let's see. Let me see. Who's Walter? Is that you?
Yeah. Hello, everybody. My question is just for the Experience House. How important is it that this was really in the middle of nowhere, right? In this, I still have the picture in mind, which Guy sent a few weeks ago. So how important in the middle of nowhere, in your eyes?
So this conversation always comes up about doing urban versus rural co-living experiences. And I'd say the biggest benefit of doing a rural version, out in the jungle version, is we are each other's stimulus. We almost rely on each other for our growth, for our engagement, for our fun. While as if we were in the city, there's a lot more distraction. You know, it's easier for people to get drawn out into some other events, some sites, some programs within the, you know, the town. The benefit, obviously, being in an urban center is your logistics are taken care of. You know, transportation's a lot easier, Wi-Fi is solid, et cetera, but you're not getting the same focus that you get in a rural community.
Thank you.
I agree with that. It's well said.
Yeah. Super.
Thank you. And then we have quite a, maybe just while we're here with Sam and Matt, we had a couple of questions about the curation process, how to select the right people. I think this is a real bottleneck in looking at many very commercially viable co-living spaces or more scalable co-living spaces, is this idea of how do we invest the right amount of time curating people while also having the objective to fill beds and to fill rooms to make the business model work. So can you guys shed a little bit of light on the curation process of the community? And then maybe we can also open that up to the whole group, to Guy and to Richardo and to Isabelle about this idea of curation of a community.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess I could speak on that. First of all, I'll just say like curation's hard because it's time intensive, and it's also like you're telling people that are amazing no, which is really hard too. But I think like you have to sort of trust that you're looking out for what is going to be the best group experience, and really being like firm on that, and really making sure that there's a balance of like energies and talents and contributions. The way like my framework for it was like first like industry, like is there sort of alignment on like what they do in their work, and does that sort of like align with the theme of the house? Everyone in this house in particular was like thought leaders in the world of experience design and community building. So like, that's one of it. And then I asked a bunch of questions to myself too, like, does this person inspire me? Is this person someone I'd want to make famous? Does this person, like bring something really unique to the table? And then other than that, it's kind of like also looking at the specific, especially for something like this, when it's really this co-created gathering, looking at specific skills and talents. Right. So it's like, okay, we know we want someone who, even small things like we want a yoga teacher, a part of it, right? Because it's going to be co-created. We want, someone who knows how to set up a stage and run AV, just, things like that. And then other than that, it's sort of like energetically, like does it feel like there's like synergy in myself and the person, and do I feel like they would mix with the group? So I understand that like this type of thing is sort of the extreme end of curation, where it was just like an enormous amount of time and energy put into it. And I am also very like interested and curious on how to find models for curation that are a little bit more, don't rely on like a single person like myself, in this case being the curator, where it's more like, I think once the tribe is kind of developed, I think there's ways of having systems where different people can be a part of that curation process.
Thanks, Sam. And Isabelle or Richardo, do you have any comments on curation and the curation of a community and its importance?
If you don't mind, I'll have to go in 5 minutes. So it's easy for us because we're not doing the curation, the team camps are doing the curation. And so we have like a 3,000 team camp, and everybody select whoever he wants to see. A, B, the place itself curates itself. It means not everybody can live for a week in the desert, and C, there is so many people that want to come to Burning Man now that there is also this third ticket sold to people that do something. So a third of tickets go to, I have a project candidates, and the 2/3 else goes to lottery. So we have inclusion, so everybody is included. Our idea is not to curate people that come to Burning Man. Our idea is to change the world. So we take whoever we have and we try to make them burners. So that's different.
Isabelle, before you go, I had a big question for you. Can Co-Liv members can join Burning Man this year?
Yeah, sure, you can. Tickets will be on sale, and here it goes. Now, I don't know, we have a big speech on the 10th of April. It's on the network, so everybody's invited. Marianne Godel, which is Burning Man CEO, will speak.
or probably on Zoom or something. You go on Burning Man's site, you go on French Burner's site, you'll have the Zoom link, and everybody's invited to join. Actually, it won't be on Zoom. We're on Zoom. You're going to be on probably some Facebook Live or something. And then she's going to tell us more about where we stand for 2021 organization. But more probably, she won't let us know now if there's going to be a Burning Man in 2021. She will just say where we stand on organization at this stage. Final decision is probably a bit further down, but looks kind of likely that it can happen. It's end of August. A lot of Americans are vaccinated already. Knowing if foreigners can go to the US is another question. But again, we're talking end of August. The only problem is when you get organized, like buy tickets or buy materials or join a camp. Yeah, of course, you need to organize ahead. So it's this uncertainty is not easy to manage. But I'm confident, and I'd like to see you guys on the playa.
Okay, Isabelle, thank you so much for joining us. It was an amazing presentation. You added so much to our discussion around community. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I'm happy to have met you guys.
Thank you. Kelsey, I also am gonna have to go.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Yeah, I think we're gonna move towards wrapping up. Bryce, you just share the end of the slide, and let's give a nice round of applause and another happy birthday to Sam. Thanks for sharing your amazing project with us, Matt as well.
Thank you, Kelsey. Thanks for having us.
Great. Okay. Very nice. I think we just have one more slide at the end. Just going to wrap up with a big thank you to all of our panelists. We've already said goodbye to Isabelle and to Sam. Thank you to Richardo and to Guy for joining us, for sharing all of these insights about community building. Thank you guys so much. And then next, just a quick slide to talk about if you're interested in joining as a Co-Liv member. Here is the website where you can join our community. This is a link to a 10-week onboarding program that's really exciting to get to understand the key people, key resources, and business benefits of working in the co-living industry. You can check all of that out on coliv.org, community.coliv.org. There's a membership package. There's a great special going on with the Co-Liv Summit. It's happening. If you buy a ticket to the summit, you have a 1-year membership. So come one, come all, join our community, please. It's a wonderful opportunity to stay connected and to support the amazing growth of this very nascent industry, and to support the work of, especially the hard work of all the ambassadors and Guy. So there we are, May 5th and 6th, we have the Global Co-Living Summit. For our France community, we're going to try to hold something in person if possible, COVID permitting. I'll keep everyone up to date with that as we get a little bit closer. The event will be virtual, so no fears of the event being postponed. Everything's available online. And then our next meetup here in this format will be June 10th, and we'll release more information about that soon. Fabrice, any closing words, or should we say goodbye to these beautiful humans on our Zoom chat?
Yes, I guess the next meeting is during the summit. Please join, take your ticket. You have the link in the chat, and we wait everybody to this big party of Co-Liv all together.
Thank you. And thank you also, Fabrice and Kelsey. Big round of applause to you guys. You're amazing. These meetups are incredible. Today was just like fabulous. Thank you, Richardo, Sam, and Matt. It was really, really, really high quality. Thank you. This is gold. This is true gold.
Nice. Great to see so many faces. I also just dropped in the chat the link to our France community WhatsApp group. So feel free to join. Everybody pipes in, shares news. It's a great place to be. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Have a great evening, and we'll see you at the summit.